The top stories tonight in Y News. The Food and Drug Administration has approved the rollout of a second COVID-19 booster shot for senior citizens, immunocompromised individuals, and frontline healthcare workers, the Department of Health confirms.
The Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases has extended the implementation of COVID-19 Alert Level 1 over Metro Manila beginning April 16.
The Commission on Elections denies rumors of a conflict among Comelec's top officials in the wake of Commissioner Socorro Inting's resignation from the poll body's gun ban panel.
And NASA has spotted a record-breakingly large comet headed nearer to Earth.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Wednesday, April 13, 2022. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am Kat Maraos.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am Elsie Marcos.
First in the news, the Manila International Airport Authority records over 50,000 daily passengers in the Ninoy Aquino International Airport this week. This is about 8 times the number of passengers in the same period in 2021. Asher Cadapan Jr. tells us why live. Yes, Asher, good evening.
Good evening, Kat. After more than 2 years of travel restrictions due to the threat of COVID-19 pandemic, airline companies expect a significant increase in the number of air passengers, especially during this long holiday. With this, airlines augment their flight frequencies to suffice the influx of passengers. Ninoy Aquino International Airport, on their part, opens its Terminal 4 to accommodate domestic passengers. Based on the data gathered by the Manila International Airport Authority, the number of passengers on April 12 increased from 6,172 in 2021 to 51,352 this year. This means that the number increased by 8 times from last year. This year's figures are 80% of the data for the same period in 2019 before the pandemic occurred. While international flights also show an increase from 4,734 in 2021 to 20,227 this year, but still far from the 75,234 passengers before the pandemic. Today, passengers continue to arrive in NAIA terminals. Airlines advise the passengers to be in the airport at least 3 hours before their flight schedule. Passengers are also being reminded to ensure they have secured all their travel documents required by receiving local government units. Kat, this afternoon, Philippine National Police Chief General Leonardo Carlos conducted an inspection in NAIA Terminal 3 to ensure the security in the area. Passengers are also constantly being reminded of the safety protocols while in NAIA premises, particularly wearing of face masks. Kat?
Thank you, Asher Cadapan Jr., reporting live from Quezon City.
Advisory for port passengers who will travel to the provinces this long weekend. The Manila North Harbor Port Management announced their last trip schedule will be tomorrow in the afternoon. Janice Inhente reports why.
Now that the Typhoon Bashang is out of the Philippine area of responsibility and Tropical Depression Agaton has also dissolved, the Philippine Coast Guard has allowed ships and other vessels to sail. That's why Manila North Harbor Port is back to its normal operations. However, the port notifies passengers that they will be closed on Friday, April 15.
Tsaka yung schedule ng mga barko hanggang Thursday, Friday definitely wala tayong barko. Magre-resume yan Saturday na. Mga Saturday afternoon.
According to the Manila North Harbor Port Management, their operation tomorrow is only until 1 p.m. That's why passengers arrive early for the last trip before the long holiday.
Inagahan ko talaga kasi hahabol talaga ako sa last trip na to. Hindi talaga pwedeng hindi ako makakauwi. inaasahan na talaga nila ako. Kaya salamat sa Panginoon na binigyan niya tayo ng pakagandang araw na para makabiyahe kaming lahat.
Hahabol ako ngayon para makarating ng maaga doon. Ayos na, masaya dahil kasi makakauwi na.
Meanwhile, Manila North Harbor Port is still expecting influx of passengers after the long holiday. Janice Enhente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Bus companies servicing routes to Sorsogon, Batangas, and Mindoro have advised the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange Management that there's no available trips on April 15. JP Nunes will tell us why.
The Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange announced that they will remain open on April 14 and 15. However, several bus companies advised that there will be no available trips on Friday. Affected routes will be to Pio Duran in Albay, Daet and Jose Panganiban in Camarines Norte, and some areas in Camarines Sur. Also to Catanduanes, Sorsogon, Lemery, Batangas, San Jose Occidental, Mindoro, Quezon Province, and the Saulog trips to Cavite City. Other routes will still service passengers but with limited trips. Earlier today, passengers blocked the terminal to avail tickets.
Kagabi nag-file ako ng leave para absent ako mamaya, tapos maaga lang ako pumunta dito. Parang chance passenger lang ang ano ko. Ngayon, nakaabot ako ng ticket pagdating ko dyan. Maaga, mga 10 a.m. Bakasyon lang po. Nandun kasi ang parents ko sa Legazpi.
Inagahan kasi mahirap kumuha ng ticket eh. Hindi nga kami nakakuha ng ticket kasi inaabot na ng oras. Ngayon lang kami nakakuha. Oo, nakakuha man.
Meanwhile, in Araneta City Bus Terminal, only 2,000 passengers arrived, which is lower than the expected number of passengers. The management of the station explains that the number is far beyond the regular 8,000 average passengers before the pandemic. Mr. Ramoncito Legazpi, the property manager of the station, said some passengers were diverted in other terminals.
There are some bus terminals within the vicinity that are operational. So medyo nahahati yung pasahero siguro. And most of which of the routes that I mentioned that we had before that we don't have ngayon is now being assigned sa PITX.
JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippine National Police has deployed additional personnel in transport hubs as they are expecting that more people will travel for the long holiday. Leia Ilagan reports.
The Philippine National Police will continue to monitor and ensure the safety of the public during the long holiday. PNP spokesperson Police Colonel Jean Fajardo said, so far, the PNP has deployed 59,000 cops nationwide.
And this is the reason why nagdagdag pa tayo ng tao natin dyan sa mga terminal, dyan sa mga airports at maging doon sa mga pantalan. As of April 10 ay nakapag-deploy na tayo ng almost 59,000 na nationwide na yan. At gaya nga ng nasabi ko, if we will see na there is a need to increase yung deployment ng ating kapulisan, particularly dito sa ating mga transport hubs and terminals, we will do so.
The PNP said no credible threats have been monitored so far.
So far, we have not monitored any credible threat to disrupt or disturb yung ating pag-observe ng Holy Week. But nonetheless, yung ating kapulisan ay patuloy na nagbabantay para masiguro na yung paglalakbay ng ating mga kababayan ay magiging maayos at matiwasay.
The PNP also reminded political candidates of the ban on campaigning on Thursday and Friday. The Comelec earlier said that those days are considered quiet period and that campaigning is an election offense punishable by 1 to 6 years in prison, disqualification from public office, and loss of the right to vote. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The risk remains high in the Philippines amid the threat of new COVID-19 variants. However, the Department of Health is uncertain when COVID-19 cases will rise again. Aiko Miguel explains why.
The average daily COVID-19 cases from April 5 to 11 is at 271. This is 26% lower compared to the recorded cases last March 29 to April 4. However, the health department said they are uncertain whether the low number of COVID-19 cases will be sustained. This is because the risk of increasing cases is always there.
Ang daming factors ngayon that can contribute sa pagtaas ng kaso. Nandiyan na yung mga crowding na nangyayari sa campaign sorties, nandiyan na yung mga religious activities natin, Ramadan is here, and also hindi natin madidiskwento na baka may pumasok din na ibang variants uli dito sa ating bansa. So the risk could always be there. No certainty as to when that will happen. Even the experts cannot tell us that it will happen next week or it will happen next month. The key here is dapat prepared tayo lahat.
The DOH also worries over the low booster vaccination rate in the Philippines. Health experts added they cannot guarantee when the immunity will last.
Because of the immunity brought about by the January to March infections. So tayo po ay nagpabakuna, nagpa-booster po, marami sa atin noong Nobyembre, Disyembre, Enero, Pebrero at Marso. Meron pang immunity na natitira. But we cannot tell you and we cannot guarantee you that that immunity will last, no? Dadating tayo dun sa punto na yung immunity na yan, mawawala na rin. Kaya nga the boosters are there to boost your immunity again. Nothing is certain, we don't know kung hanggang kailan ang immunity na yan.
Kung titignan kasi natin yung datos galing sa NBOC, medyo nakakalungkot kasi nahuhuli ng husto yung coverage ng boosters natin. Matter of time, bababa ulit ang ating immunity. And kung sumabay na naman yan sa pagkalat ng mga kaso sa community, syempre, aasahan natin dadami na naman ng mga kaso at ayaw natin magkaroon ng ganung klaseng problema ulit.
In a statement, the DOH also said that as of the moment, there are no results from the latest sequencing run of April. However, with the latest run, the DOH said they have yet to detect the recombinant variant Omicron XE or any other recombinant variant in the country. Health experts are also strictly monitoring updates on emerging COVID-19 variants.
Nauna na rin kasi yung BA2 sa atin noong January. So in that sense, tapos na yung BA2 wave natin, yung BA4, BA5, these are all variants of Omicron as well. We don't necessarily expect na magkokosto ng any kind of surge, but we are watching it very carefully. Kasama na rin dyan yung recombinants XD, XE, and XF.
Those who are eligible to get their booster shots should grab the chance this long weekend for additional protection against COVID-19. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
There will be no holiday breaks for personnel assigned in several vaccination hubs, according to the National Vaccination Operations Center. Eileen Cerudo will tell us why.
The national government continues its efforts to ramp up the number of individuals getting their COVID-19 vaccines. According to the National Vaccination Operations Center, several vaccination sites, including the Department of Health referral hospitals and local government unit hospitals, will remain open during the long holiday. DOH Undersecretary and NVOC Chairperson Mirna Kabatahe says boosting the vaccination rate is necessary, especially amid the looming threat of new COVID-19 variants.
Yes, there will be some areas that will have vaccination teams para hindi naman natin minandate itong ating mga LGUs. It has been voluntary part to make vac sites available in many of these areas.
There will also be vaccination sites in areas of religious gatherings. Based on NVOC's data, 144.3 million Filipinos received COVID-19 vaccines, where 66.7 million of them are fully vaccinated. Around 12.5 million received their booster shot. The national government also wants to improve the number of individuals getting booster doses in preparation for the threat of Omicron XE and other COVID-19 variants that might enter the country. Based on reports, Omicron XE has been recorded in Japan and Thailand.
Hindi tayo dapat magpakampante. Game changer has always been vaccination. So, importanteng bakunado lahat. Tapos kung kailangan na ng booster, yung 18 years and above, kailangan na mag-booster. Importante din yung mga senior citizen makaroon ng primary doses sa kanilang mga booster.
Meanwhile, the official warns the public against heat stroke and the spread of COVID-19 this long holiday. The DOH reminds everyone to avoid getting too much exposure to sunlight and stay hydrated. It is also important to regularly wash your hands, wear face mask, and observe physical distancing.
Yung ating mga bakasyonista, let us always be cognizant na mainit ang panahon, na yung changes in weather, yung ating mga sakit na ating babantayan, and kaya ng diarrhea, tapos yung mga heat stroke. Importanteng minimum public health standards, including hygiene, no?
The DOH previously advised the public to avoid participating in religious rituals that might cause COVID-19 spread. Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
More than half of the Philippine cities and municipalities will be under the lowest alert level 1 status beginning April 16 to 30. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
887 areas in the Philippines will be under COVID-19 Alert Level 1 starting April 16 to 30, 2022. This is equivalent to 54% of the total number of cities and municipalities in the country, according to Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases or IATF. These include Metro Manila, which will remain under the lowest alert level status. Other areas that will be placed under COVID-19 Alert Level 1 for Luzon are Abra, Apayao, Baguio City, Mountain Province, Kalinga, Dagupan City, Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, La Union, Pangasinan, Batanes, Cagayan, City of Santiago, Isabela, Quirino, Arita, Nueva Vizcaya, Angeles City, Aurora, Bataan, Bulacan, Nueva Ecija, Olongapo City, Pampanga, Tarlac, Zambales, Batangas, Cavite, Laguna, Lucena City, Rizal, Marinduque, Puerto Princesa City, Romblon, Oriental Mindoro, Catanduanes, Naga City, Albay, Basud, Camarines Norte. For Visayas, Aklan, Bacolod City, Capiz, Guimaras, Iloilo City, Aninii Antique, New Lucena Iloilo, Tubungan Iloilo, Victoria City, Negros Occidental, Cebu City, Lapu-Lapu City, Mandaue City, Siquijor, Sevilla, Bohol, Biliran, Eastern Samar, Ormoc City, Southern Leyte, Tacloban City. For Mindanao, Zamboanga City, Cagayan de Oro City, Camiguin, Bukidnon, Misamis Oriental, Iligan City, Sapang Dalaga, Misamis Occidental, Davao City, Tantangan South Cotabato, Butuan City, and Surigao del Sur. Under Alert Level 1, intrazonal and interzonal travel are allowed as well as full on-site seating capacity in all establishments, people and activities provided that public health standards are observed. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III mentioned before that Alert Level 1 may be implemented in the country until President Rodrigo Duterte's term ends in June 2022. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Department of Health confirms receiving emergency use authorization from the Food and Drug Administration for the additional COVID-19 vaccine booster dose to senior citizens, immunocompromised, and healthcare workers. This second booster dose shall be given at least 4 months after the first booster shot. The DOH also said for moderately and severely immunocompromised patients, the second booster could be given earlier, subject to the assessment of their attending physician. The FDA does recognize the waning immunity of COVID-19 vaccines in specific populations. The National COVID-19 Vaccination Operations Center, or NVOC, is now drafting the guidelines for the rollout of the second booster in the country. For those watching our live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook. The Commission on Elections dampened rumors of a conflict among its top officials in the wake of Commissioner Socorro Inting's resignation from the poll body's gun ban panel. Dante Amento tells us why.
Commissioner George Erwin Garcia allays rumors of possible infighting among the Comelec commissioners. This was after Commissioner Socorro Inting submitted her irrevocable resignation as the head of the Committee on the Ban on Firearms and Security Concerns. Garcia stresses they had smooth deliberations on some issues in today's ANBank session.
Hindi naman po siguro gano'n yung isang komisyon na may away o may gulo kung hindi na kami makakatapos. So lahat po, wala naman pong mga opposition, walang mga objection. Lahat po natapos namin hanggang tanghali yung lahat ng mga nakalagay sa agenda namin. So wala pong mga puro-puro na infighting, may na-divided na ang komisyon, hindi po totoo yan.
Based on Commissioner Inting's resignation letter, she argued that her position is already inutile due to the enactment of Comelec Resolution number 10777. The resolution authorizes Comelec chairman on the gun ban exemption and to declare a place as an election area of concern if it is meritorious and an urgent case. Garcia added, the ANBank currently deferred to act on Inting's resignation.
As of this time, si Commissioner Inting pa rin kasi nga we deferred consideration or acting on the request to be relieved of the duty as chairman ng Gun Ban Committee.
Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Presidential candidate Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. stressed the need to institute policy reforms and programs which will create a peaceful balance between economic development and the environment. Nel Maribuhok reports why.
Part of the priority programs of presidential candidate Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. is environment protection and preservation. Among his program is to create the Department of Disaster Resilience like the Federal Emergency Management Agency or FEMA of the United States that integrates many other agencies. According to Marcos Jr., the said department should be integrated in the agencies like DOST, DSWD, and NEDA. Promoting reforestation and pushing for stricter anti-illegal logging law will also be prioritized by his administration. He is also planning to create the Department of Water Resources Management to make sure that clean and potable water is available to every Filipino. Meanwhile, after a few days of campaign in the Visayas and Mindanao, the BBM Sara Unit Team conducted their campaign rally in Quezon City. Marcos Jr. together with some senatorial candidates seek the support of voters in Barangay Batasan Hills in Quezon City. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
As they visit two stronghold provinces, the Robredo-Pangilinan tandem secures more endorsements from local officials. Presidential candidate and Vice President Leni Robredo also made a vow to her fellow Bicolanos. Harleen Delgado reports.
Presidential candidate and Vice President Leni Robredo vows to her fellow Bicolanos to address the problem of electricity supply in the region under her administration should she win the presidency. This as she goes back to the provinces of Catanduanes and Masbate of her Bailiwick Bicol region.
Bako lang digdi sa Catanduanes may problema kan siging brownout enterong Bicol. Kaya po iyan ang saro kong ipapangako sa Indo na tututukan ka. Ang problema sa kuryente digdi sa bilog na Bicol region.
In a campaign rally in Verac last night, Catanduanes Governor Joseph Boboy Cua endorsed the Leni Kiko tandem. Cua asked his constituents to deliver winning votes to the two, citing Robredo's efforts in Catanduanes during calamities and COVID-19 vaccination in the province.
Mga tugang, lingwan ta ang lokal na politika na nag-iiriwal kami para lang suportaran kay Leni. Lingawan ta, suportaran ta tabi, solid kita ha? Maski iba-ibang partido kita, iba-ibang grupo. Tandaan ta, sa nasyonal, siyempre, Bibi Leni Kiko, Pangilinan.
San Andres Mayor Peter Cua, who sits as the president of Catanduanes chapter of the League of Municipalities of the Philippines, also endorsed the Leni Kiko tandem. He says 11 mayors in the province are supporting both Robredo and Pangilinan. In the 2016 vice presidential race, Robredo won in the province and defeated Bongbong Marcos by 60,000 votes. Catanduanes has almost 200,000 registered voters in the 2022 elections. Today, the Robredo ticket attended a campaign rally in Masbate held at the J.M. Robredo Boulevard, named after her husband, former DILG Secretary Jesse Robredo.
Bawat punta ko dito sa Masbate, parang umuuwi ako sa bahay. Dahil alam ko na dito binawian ng buhay yung aking asawa. Maraming beses na akong pumunta dito sa main island ng Masbate. Kaya pag nagsabi akong hindi ko kayo kakalimutan, mahaba po ang aking resibo.
Robredo and Pangilinan also visited the Masbate City Hall, where they were endorsed by Mayor Rowena Tuanzon and other local officials. Robredo also won by a landslide in the province in 2016 with over 169,000 votes. The Lenny Kiko team will be resting from the campaign trail this long weekend and will resume next week. Jorge Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Russian leader Vladimir Putin justifies his offensive warfare on Ukraine as a stand to protect its people and Russia's overall security. Iya De Vera will tell us why live. Yes, Iya?
Russian President Vladimir Putin expressed his intention to continue with the invasion and offensive attacks to Ukraine until its full completion and its goals fulfilled. Russia's goal included taking over Ukraine's capital Kyiv and its government and mandating a Moscow-friendly regime. Putin also stated that he has no other choice but to push forward with the invasion to protect people from eastern Ukraine and for Russia's own security. The Kremlin also believes that Ukraine has committed genocide against Russian speakers. Despite failure of Russian troops to move forward to Kyiv and after suffering significant losses due to Ukraine's stiff opposition, the siege continues to the eastern Donbas region, where Russia has recognized the separatists' claim of independence. Military experts believe that Moscow hopes to finally turn the tide by getting the favor from local support, logistics, and the terrain in the region. Meanwhile, there is an alleged use of chemical weapons by Russian troops after 3 soldiers claimed to be injured by a poisonous substance during a drone attack at the Azovstal metal plant. This could possibly escalate the already devastating war, according to Western officials. Kath?
Yeah, while the chemical attacks are not confirmed yet, what has Ukraine and its allies have to say about it?
Well, Kath, despite the soldiers' claims, there is no evidence presented yet to confirm Russia's use of chemical weapons. But the US and Britain are looking into these reports. Other Western nations, Kath, also pledged to take action if Russia carries out chemical attacks. Back to you, Kath.
Thank you, Iya De Vera, for that live report.
A subway shooting in New York led to passengers being injured, and New York police are still conducting investigations as the suspect remains at large. Nerissa Dando will give us the details live. Yes, Nerissa?
Elsie, during a rush hour on Tuesday, a gunman described by NYPD wearing a gas mask and a construction vest set off smoke grenades and fired a barrage of bullets at passengers on the subway train. Fortunately, quick-thinking workers ushered passengers to another across the platform for safety, and NYPD Commissioner Kichan Sewell reported that none of the injuries were life-threatening.
10 people were injured by gunfire, and an additional 13 were either injured as they rushed to get out of the train station or they suffered smoke inhalation. Some good news is that none of the injuries appear to be life-threatening.
Investigators found keys to a U-Haul van and are seeking a person of interest identified as Frank R. James, who they believe has rented the van. Police have not named him as a suspect, and investigations are underway to see if he has any connection to the shooting.
Mr. James is just a person of interest we know right now who rented that U-Haul van in Philadelphia. The keys to that U-Haul van were found in the subway in our shooter's possessions. We don't know right now if Mr. James has any connection to the subway. That's still under investigation.
Meanwhile, the attack terrified New Yorkers and left them concerned about riding the country's most congested subway system. As a result, officials have increased policy at transportation hubs from Philadelphia to Connecticut. Back to you, Elsie.
Thank you, Nerissa Danda, for that live report.
More than 300 members of Europe's National Education Union petitioned to investigate the racism they faced after a senior member blows the whistle. Marvi Delfin explains why, live. Yes, Marvi, go ahead.
Kath, a senior member of Europe's largest teachers' union, has come out to condemn the union for failing to live by its stand on anti-racism and inclusion towards its own members. Since then, 3 open letters to the union were sent with more than 300 signatories of Black and Asian members asking for investigations around the issue. The letters highlight the union's poor treatment of Black women. Camille Kumar, NEU's former race and LGBT policy specialist who left back in February, spoke about the issue, declaring that the discrimination had an impact on her mental health. Kath, due to concerns of systematic racism, numerous NEU staff members of color left with no choice but to resign. One particular letter was privately addressed to Joint Secretary Kevin Courtney, who responded that he and other Joint Secretaries are deeply concerned with the disgraceful behavior being shown towards Black women. As a result, an emergency executive meeting has been called by the national officers to address the members' concerns and complaints listed in the letters. Meanwhile, a spokesperson from the NEU responded to the concerns raised by the former senior member, claiming that it is, however, unsupported. Kath?
Thank you, Marvi Delfin, for that live report.
The Australian state of Victoria has been chosen to host the 2026 Commonwealth Games, also known as the Friendly Games, which started in 1930 and takes place every 4 years. This is an international multi-sporting event involving athletes from the Commonwealth nations, including England, Australia, India, Singapore, and 68 other countries. 16 sports have been confirmed on the initial program, with 7 more to be added. Sporting events such as rugby, swimming, beach volleyball, and boxing are played in this competition. This year, the Games will be held in Birmingham, England, from July 28 to August 8.
A record-breaking comet, 100,000 times more massive than a typical comet around the sun, is seen moving closer to Earth. Maeve Dog will give us the details live. Maeve?
Kath, the comet known as Bernardinelli-Bernstein is traveling at 22,000 miles per hour towards the center of the solar system, but NASA states that we are completely safe. The megacomet is the largest icy body identified by the Hubble Space Telescope to date, with its nucleus measuring around 80 miles across and is 50 times bigger than the heart of most comets. The comet was first observed in 2010 and is believed to be billions of years old and has been falling back towards the sun for over 1 million years. Professor of Planetary Science and Astronomy at the University of California, Los Angeles, David Jewett said, "This is the only tip of the iceberg for many other comets in our solar system." He also stated that the comet has always been suspected to be huge due to its brightness from a distance. According to NASA, the comet will not get closer than 1 billion miles from the sun, which it will not reach until 2031. Kath?
Maeve, how would a discovery like this be beneficial to NASA?
Kat, this comet would help NASA to better characterize the Oort cloud where it came from. For researchers, the Oort cloud still remains a theoretical concept of a cloud that surrounds our solar system. And by studying the record-breaking comet, they will be able to understand, for example, just how large could the objects be from that cloud. Back to you, Kat.
Thank you, Maven Dog, reporting live from Australia.
And before we close, we will leave you with the word giving glory to God. From the book of John, chapter 4, verse 34, it says, Jesus said unto them, My meat is to do the will of him that sent me, and to finish his work. are the reasons behind the news, April 13, 2022. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Elsie Marcos, reporting live from Auckland, New Zealand.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am Katu Maraos, reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand. We serve the people, we give glory to God.